everyone, welcome to my channel. To kick off my very first video on this Knits by Tia channel, I'm going to be talking about everything that I've been knitting this spring. So I have two finished objects to share, one work in progress, and a bunch of new acquisitions that just came in the mail yesterday. So I'm super excited to show you those and what my knitting plans are with them. Without further ado, let's get into the video. The first knit that I want to share with you is my cloud sweater by Petite Knit. So this was actually my first top-down sweater, and I hadn't knit a sweater for myself in a really long time. I actually just recently got back into knitting. Last year I knit a baby blanket for my friend's newborn, which she still uses actually, and I just caught the knitting bug after that. And so I was seeing this cloud sweater on my Instagram. I absolutely loved the color gray that she had knitted it in one of her samples, and I just thought I have to make that, I have to have it. So I actually did buy the exact yarn that Petite Knit used when she knit her gray cloud sweater. It's the CaMaRose Snefnug in the color 7311 gray, and it's held together with a single strand of Isager soft, no, I'm getting it mixed up with the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair. I think this one is just called Isager yarn silk mohair, and it's a 75% mohair and 25% silk blend. So it's just one strand of each held together, and it's knit on US 7 circular needles, so that's 4.5 millimeters. So it is a pretty quick knit since it's a bulky weight yarn and the needle size is a little bit bigger. It's also a really cozy fabric, so it's super warm, probably best suited for the cooler winter months. And since I live in California, I definitely am not going to wear this until November, December of this year, which is totally fine. I've had a lot of fun knitting it, and I did get one weekend of wear out of it. I went to Tahoe, so it was perfect for that kind of colder ski weather. I knit it top down, and it uses what do you call it? Shaping at the shoulders and a drop shoulder construction, drop sleeve construction. And it has this nice detail here where the shoulder starts, the drop shoulder starts. You do a couple purl rows, and then on the hem as well, there is a I want to say 1x1 ribbing, and this beautiful little edge here. And then on the hem as well, there's this 1x1 knitting too. Sorry, 1x1 ribbing, not 1x1 knitting. What else? I guess overall, I love this knit. It was really easy to follow the pattern, super simple. Love the finished object. It's not very, how do you say, it's a little shapeless. I think it's supposed to have that kind of bulky, oversized look. So yeah, it's definitely not a form-fitting, you know, quote-unquote flattering sweater, but yeah, it's just a perfect kind of warm, cold weather sweater to throw on over your layers. And the next two objects that I finished this spring, I knit two Camisole No. 5, which is a pattern by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I knit this one for myself in black, or the color Licorice. It's knit in Knitting for Olive Merino. And I knit another one for my sister that I actually just shipped to her in New York in the color Gray Lamb. And she got it the other day, loves it, has already worn it. So really happy with how these two turned out. I will say this was my first time doing a couple of these techniques that I think are on the more advanced side, like advanced beginner. So there was, well, provisional cast on, which wasn't too hard to learn and actually wasn't too advanced. But I would say that the double knitting on the armhole edges and on the collar, but especially the armhole edges, was a little bit trickier to pick up. Once I got the hang of it, it was smooth sailing, although it was tedious. And in the end, it does really make the garment. I think it just makes it look so clean, so professional. Every time I've showed this to someone, they're like, it looks store-bought, which I take as a compliment. I think I have two regrets when it comes to this project. The one is that on my black camisole, I sized down needles to knit the armhole edges. I had just noticed on some Ravelry projects, some users had said they sized down needles and recommended it, and then some other projects that didn't mention that the armholes were quite deep, and I didn't like that look on me, or I didn't want them to be too deep to show like bra straps or anything. So I did size down needles, and in hindsight, because I think I'm quite a tight knitter, I do regret that. I think the depth of the armhole would have been fine if I had just used the 3mm needles, that the same that I knit the body in. And so I actually didn't size down for my sisters, and I do prefer that fit on me and on her. So that's what I would do differently. I guess I could undo and do again, but I already kind of made some mistakes when I was knitting the armhole edge the first time and had to unravel a couple times, and it was just too much by the end. I didn't want to unravel for a third time. And then the second thing that I would have done differently is I probably would have chosen a lighter yarn. I bought both the yarn for my camisole and my sister's camisole at the same time, so I didn't get to kind of correct this mistake in the second camisole that I knit, but I definitely would have chosen a lighter fabric since this is a summer top. And this is probably something that sounds obvious to experienced knitters, like it's merino wool, so it wouldn't be the right material to use for something lighter to wear in warm weather. But given this was my first summer knit, it really didn't occur to me. So next time I would probably knit this in Knitting for Olive's cotton merino, just so that it's something a little bit more breathable, since I have worn this out in San Francisco in spring weather. I went on a walk and it was just really hot. So I told my sister, she lives in New York, that it's probably best to wear on like summer nights when it's a little bit cooler, there's a breeze, because it does get quite toasty. And the next item is my work in progress. It is the Monday sweater by Petite Knit. I have already joined the body in the round, and so it's top down, so I've done the collar. It's a kind of fold over collar done in 1x1 rib in smaller needles than the body. And then there are increases to make the kind of raglan shaping at the body to form the sleeves, the shoulder and the sleeves. This is how much I've knit so far. And I'm working on the sleeve right now. As you can see, I'm almost done. I just have maybe an inch more of this 1x1 ribbing, and I am doing it in, what do you call this? Magic loop. I'm doing it in magic loop. And it's my first time doing magic loop, and it took a little bit of time to get the hang of it. I actually tried to do it on 32-inch needles and just really didn't work. I feel like it left too big of a gap where where the kind of stitches are divided, and so I had to purchase these same needles in 40 inches, and it's actually working really well. I feel like you won't really be able to see. You can see here if I like go to where that edges, you can't even really see that there was a gap there or that anything pulls there. So yeah, I'm really happy with how the sleeve is turning out, and I think I'm probably going to try it on soon just so I know where to bind off on the left sleeve. I'll knit the right sleeve, and then I will pick my stitches back up there just on hold in the body and finish that off and try and use all the yarn I have. I'm knitting this in, I bought 5 balls of Knitting for Olive merino. After knitting the Camisole number 5, I just really liked knitting with that yarn and wanted to knit something else in it. So I bought this Knitting for Olive merino in the color soft blue, and I bought not the matching color, it's a different color, Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair. It's in the color, what is it? Pearl gray. And I just wanted to soften the blue up a little bit, or maybe not soften, but kind of make it a little bit cooler, a little bit less blue. I'm a big fan of neutrals, and I really like the color gray, so I wanted it to have a grayish tint, and I'm happy with how the fabric looks. To me, it does look like it's kind of one shade. You can see sometimes the gray pokes through a little bit in the individual stitches, but generally when you look from afar, it kind of just looks like a cool toned blue, which I really like. So this one has been a pretty quick knit so far because I did size up needles to get gauge on this yarn specifically. I think the original sweater is definitely a thicker, bulkier weight yarn. Not a bulky weight, but just bulkier than the Knitting for Olive fingering. So it's been very enjoyable, and I'm very excited to wear this. I think I don't know if I'll finish before summer or like before to get to wear it in spring, but in SF it's kind of can be cool during the summer too when it's super foggy, so I think I'll wear out of this when I finish it in the summer. Okay, now I want to talk about some acquisitions. So as I had mentioned, I got a big package in the mail yesterday. It's from this yarn shop in Washington called La Mercerie, and the folks there are super helpful. I've done multiple orders with them, and they have amazing yarn there. So I wanted to share, I guess, 3 different yarns that I picked up. The first two, one actually is for my mom, and one's for me. I convinced my mom to knit my favorite things blouse number 1 with me. She actually taught me to knit. She's a very experienced knitter and has knit kind of some beautiful cable work sweaters for me when I was younger that I did not appreciate as much as I would now. And we've never knit anything together, so I really wanted to cast on a project with her and just spend some time with her knitting. I thought that could be really fun for us. I chose blouse number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear because 1, it's just really simple, so it should be a relatively quick and fun knit. And then 2, I just really love the design of it. I feel like functionally I'll get a lot of wear out of it, especially this summer, and I don't really have anything like it in my closet. We are knitting blouse number 1 in Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, and my mom chose the color coal, so it's this, I would just say it's black yarn, black colored yarn, and I am kind of going for the opposite look. I chose this lighter color called Wheat. So it should be really fun to see them side by side and see how they come out in the darker colorway versus the lighter colorway. I think the construction, again, is just top down, stockinette, nothing crazy. It is definitely a wider gauge or a looser gauge. It's knitted in US 8 needles. So yeah, I am going to be meeting up with her on Sunday to cast this on and looking forward to sharing the progress of that sweater in a later video. Oh, I did also get one more ball from this latest yarn order of the soft silk mohair for my Monday sweater, because when I was knitting it, I realized after I got through the first 2 balls of the mohair and the merino held together, that the mohair was going faster than the merino, and I wanted to make sure I had enough yarn. I figured I'd probably use all 5 balls of the merino, and I just wanted to be able to do that and have enough mohair. So I did restock on one of those, and then the last yarn that I got from this haul I'm really excited about. It's this Magpie Fibers fingering weight. It's this Magpie Fibers Swanky Sock yarn in the color Voices Carry. It's a fingering weight yarn, sock yarn, and it is 80% merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. So I plan on knitting my first pair of socks with this yarn. So I've never knit a pair of socks. I've always been a little bit intimidated by them, but I've been really inspired. I've been watching a couple YouTube channels. I'll put them here. Florence's YouTube channel, I forget her username, and then Summerly Design Co., I believe, is the other one. She has a lot of fun sock knitting videos, and she's also a designer, and so she has a couple of sock patterns that I actually want to see if it works for this yarn that I've been kind of looking at and admiring and considering. So the 2 sock patterns that I'm thinking about knitting are one, the Maine Coast Summer Socks. They're a cable knit sock, or they're a sock with cables in the pattern. I've actually never knit cables, and so that would be a stretch for me in both directions, and the fact that I've never knit socks before and I've never knit cables before, so again, talk about being intimidated. That one really intimidates me, so we'll see if I do end up knitting that pattern, but I just love how it looks. And the second are her hibernal socks, and those actually are mock cables, so they have that similar cable look, but without actually doing cables. I think it's just made from pearls and yarn overs, and I might go with that one if, when I look at the pattern, I feel like I'm using a lot of new techniques to just knit the sock itself, and so want something more familiar for the actual kind of pattern in the sock. But I love this yarn, actually. I love the color, and I love that kind of brown, I don't know if it's speckling or just the kind of added brown speckles to the yarn, and it's really soft because of the cashmere. I'm really excited to start knitting these socks. Yeah, hopefully next video I'll have some socks on the needles, my Monday sweater will be done, and I know I'll definitely have my blouse number 1 well underway by the time I film next. I hope you enjoyed my spring knitting update. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe. It'll help me grow my channel immensely. And thanks for watching. Bye!